أينما كنا أينما صرنا قلنا لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to another discussion video. Today we're going to talk about something that happened over on Twitter, and that is the Ramadan Readathon live chat. So unfortunately, I actually missed the Ramadan Readathon chat yesterday, and I feel like if I go and comment now, it's going to be too late to really have any discussions on any answers I give. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to treat the tweet chat like an interview and go ahead and make a video out of it. For those of you who don't know what the Ramadan Readathon is, I'll post a link to the blog about it down below, inshallah. But just to give a brief summary, the point of it is to encourage people during this month, and hopefully beyond it, to read more books written by and featuring Muslims. The books can be fiction or non-fiction. The goal overall is to support the authors, get some insight, and grow the readership of Muslim works. That's the gist of it all, from what I understand anyways, but again, I'll be posting the link in the description down below. Anyways, with all of that said, let's jump into these questions. So, question number 1. For those of you who don't know me, I go by Q Abdullah Muhammad. I am the author of Musa and The Blade. I like deserts, cats, and desserts, not necessarily in that order. And this is my blog. Hello. Today I am feeling chilly. It's been a bit rainy these past few days. Please excuse the traffic outside. I do live in front of a busy road, as I've said in just about all of my videos now. But yeah, subhanAllah, actually, it was so hot right before Ramadan started, and then literally the first day of Ramadan, it got cool and cloudy, and we've been having moderate, easygoing weather ever since. No excessive heat causing hardships during fasting hours, alhamdulillah. As for what I'm reading, assuming you mean for the readathon and not like Quran or anything, I have a few books on my to-be-read list right now. I started one a few months before Ramadan, but that's not really going too well. It's really looking like it's going to get DNF'd, to be honest. But who knows? Aside from that, I am also looking into Tried and Tested by Juwayriya. I'm thinking about gifting that to one of my sisters, actually. I've also started reading She Wore Red Trainers by Naima B. Roberts. And I was trying to get a review copy of We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal from NetGalley, but that didn't work out. So, yeah. Question number 2. The biggest change for me, the biggest change for sure, is that I have my own book on my shelf now, alhamdulillah. It was a really big accomplishment for me to get to publish my book last August. So that's definitely going to be the first book that I'm going to mention. So yeah, Musa and the Blade by Q Abdullah Muhammad. It's a nice action-adventure book featuring a Muslim cast in a desert setting. There aren't any cats in it, but there are desserts. I've also since read Ayesha At Last by Usma Jalaluddin, which I did a review for here on my blog, so check that out. My feelings about that book in particular are, they're in constant change, actually, to be honest. I didn't exactly love it. I didn't really hate it either. I'm somewhere in the middle, I guess. Some days I'm more appreciative of the good in it, and some days I feel a little more critical concerning the issues I had with it. Overall, I am glad I read it, though, and I did enjoy finally seeing a book in which there's a practicing Muslim male who is not the villain, or some backwards control freak who the female lead needs to escape from. That was a nice change of pace for once, so thank you. There's also Moon of Masarrah by Farah Zaman. And yeah, unfortunately, I've been so busy writing my own stuff, I haven't really had time to read much else. Not to mention, some of it just doesn't catch my interest. Not to say they're bad books, but I'm very selective, as I've mentioned on this blog. And a lot of the books just aren't in my preferred genres to read. Or they don't meet my personal criteria of acceptance, and we're moving on. Question number 3. I'm actually not familiar with this book, so I can't comment on what exactly it might bring in regards to sparking the discussions and having healthy conversations around the subject. I do agree we need to speak about these things and represent more issues related to them in our Muslim fiction and Islamic fiction. Mental health is something society as a whole is barely coming around to open up about and recognize the importance of lately, let alone the Muslim communities who, may Allah guide us all, sometimes don't have the, we don't really give the due significance to these topics, or we don't address them in the right way all the time. If we can have more books dealing with these matters in a nuanced approach, especially from own voices authors, I think that'll be very beneficial for the community and the readership as a whole. I would look forward to seeing more authors tackling the various issues related to mental health and what sort of stories could be told, and also in unique settings. People tend to think of mental health issues as some modern, contemporary issue only relevant to people in the West or in so-called first world countries. That's not the case. So to see perhaps authors taking on the subject in diverse settings and time periods with differing cultures and understandings, some relevant struggles and backgrounds, and good characterizations, because it kind of sucks when they limit the protagonist's entire character to just that one facet of their life, you know? But hey, I could ramble about this kind of stuff all day, and then I'll never finish this video. So let's move on to the next question. Question number 4. Unfortunately, I haven't personally got any books to share or recommend right here, so let's move on to the next question. Question number 5. Okay, so remember how I said I'm very selective and picky about the books I'll read? Yeah, so there aren't that many that I'm actually very excited about coming out. Don't get me wrong, I do support Muslim authors, of course, all day, every day. But there are some books coming out that I just cannot get behind. I won't name any because my point isn't to stir negativity here or put anyone down, but yeah. I guess I'm looking forward to reading Love from A to Z by S.K. Ali. I've heard good things about that, so I guess I'll give that a try. I do know some people who are reading it, and some people who are really excited for it, so maybe. Oh, and the sequel to Moon of Masarrah by Farah Jaman, Sign of the Scorpion. Yeah, so I'll leave it at, oh, and I mentioned We Hunt the Flame. So I'll leave it at those 3 books for now. And then there are some other books whose authors I know in real life, and I'm waiting for those to come out, but that's going to be a while, because, yeah, they're still being written. And if you guys are listening, and you know who you are, get to writing! Thank you. Last question. Okay, this one I like. But where to begin? I have a lot to say on this one. Okay, I'd love to see more action-adventure stories not set in modern day. I'd love to see more fantasy settings that don't delve into matters of the unseen like jinns and angels and magic and, you know, all kinds of stuff that you really shouldn't be writing about as Muslims. I'd like to see more stories about Muslim characters who are not divorced from their religion and whose struggles don't revolve around, you know, the cliche or the trope of, oh, they're the child of an immigrant in a Western country trying to find themselves and escape the culture / religion of their parents and find where they belong, blah, 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 you know? All the coming-of-age stories. I'd like to see Muslim romance stories done better, i.e. much less of that. She was a brown hijabi from XYZ country. He was a handsome white jock with racist parents. They fell in love. Read about their forbidden love here. It's kind of annoying. Also, as a Muslim male, it kind of sucks always being the cringe-inducing forced potential for the female lead before she breaks free of her parents' choices and marries Bradley or Trevor or Jackson. I'd like to see Muslim stories taking place beyond Western settings, and, as much as I love deserts, outside of strictly Arabian-based settings as well. Let's explore some of Africa and Asia. Heck, let's explore Antarctica. What's a Muslim character doing down there? I don't know. Maybe they're a scientist or an adventurer who got lost. Maybe they're a fictional nation of people who've always lived there and they practice Islam and deal with whatever struggles the author can invent. What else? A lot of people also mentioned, you know, space and all that stuff, but to be honest, I'm not really into sci-fi and space operas, so that's not for me. But maybe some high seas voyages featuring Muslim sailors would be great. Maybe some historical fiction or fantasy fiction with Muslim empires and a regal setting. And again, not strictly limited to Western locations and cultures. Thrillers aren't exactly my thing, but I'd take one if it features Muslim leads and doesn't revolve around terrorism or accusations of it. And also, it doesn't divorce the Muslim characters from their religion or include harami subplots for the sake of realism, quote-unquote. I'd also like to see more practicing Muslims take the lead in some books and not just be cast as the controlling parent or the hypocritical community leader or the annoyingly preachy friend. I understand there's a whole, you know, movement or a whole idea to show that Muslims are diverse and that no one is perfect. I agree with that. We're all prone to mistakes in some way or another, but, like, Not every flaw must be overtly sinful to be relatable and understandable. Not every Muslim goes through a period of nearly abandoning their faith or disregarding it out of confusion in their lives and, all of that stuff that is a common trope played out in fiction, especially ones geared towards Western audiences to kind of, be palatable for them. I'd like to see more of the Muslims who remain practicing and maybe struggle with other aspects of their lives. They exist too and shouldn't be erased or overlooked just to portray the quote-unquote questioning faith or I'm Muslim but I'm not that Muslim types. If the goal truly is to show every type of Muslim and not have us all as a monolith, then can we get more of the Muslims who are actually really into their deen and it doesn't make them arrogant or preachy or backwards and simple, ones who don't end up as the butt of everyone's jokes or the prime suspect in a terrorism case or whatever other tropes. And also, can we get hijabis whose struggle isn't just around their hijab, like stories where a hijabi or even a niqabi, we don't really see too many of those, but yeah, can we get stories with someone who doesn't just struggle over wearing the hijab and dealing with Islamophobia or being a fashionista and all of that, someone who simply happens to cover up out of devotion to God, and that's that. It's not given much plot significance beyond that point. It's not there to preach to people about, you must wear hijab. And it's also not there to talk about, the struggle of wearing the hijab. And she just wants to fit in with all the other high schoolers and blah, 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 I understand that is a lot of people's struggle, but there's also others who don't have that struggle. And it's just something that they do. What else? Can we also get some level-headed, moderate Muslim male characters? And what I mean by moderate is that basically, I feel like a lot of the Muslim guys are written between two extremes. Either they're angry, controlling, pseudo-religious types, or they're sleazy creepos who wouldn't know a masjid from a donut factory. A lot of the guys are written with this uber machismo attitude, or to counter that, they're really soft and almost feminine. What about the guys who are just, normal? Not ones that are sexist, knuckle-dragging meatheads who either flirt or fight with everything that they see, or ones who are dainty, pink-wearing pretty boys ready to cry in every scene just to show that they have emotions. You can have, decent male characters that aren't either of those extremes, that have character depth and have some charm and wit to them or whatever, without being, whatever. Anyways, it's just, sorry, I'm stuck on this one, because, I know a lot of male authors tend to write female characters really poorly, and they write them with some less than pleasing exaggerations. I know that. But the same can also be said of the opposite when it comes to some of the guys being written nowadays, and Muslim-authored books are not exempt. I'm not naming any names here, but I've seen some pretty bad stuff. We've seen some that almost made me question if the author ever met a man in her life. So, seeing some more nuanced approaches to writing characters of either gender would be highly appreciated. And back to the point I made about the hijab part. Can we get stories where the plot doesn't solely revolve around some conflict pertaining to the outward identity of the character? For instance, a visibly Muslim character who isn't just harassed over their religion. A female character who wasn't oppressed or put down by the man and all of that. A black character, for instance, whose existence isn't solely to deal with racism and white supremacy, it's cool to tackle these subjects and bring awareness to them, no doubt. That's great. We should still keep doing that, but I'm saying, can we get stories with the characters, even in those stories, where that's not all there is to the character? Because, if that's all you ever hear about these characters, you begin to feel their whole existence is just misery and oppression. They exist to perpetually be the victim. And as a reader who identifies with that targeted attribute, whether it's that you're black like them, or you're a female like them, or, whatever, it can start to become demoralizing. No matter, you're going to feel like no matter what you do or where you are, the world is only going to see one aspect of your identity, and 99% of the time they're going to treat you poorly because of it. You always have to be a victim. You always have to be on the defensive. You always have to, you're always oppressed. You have nothing good in your identity but constant struggle to be accepted and not abused. Just let people live lives sometimes. Especially, fiction, a big part of fiction is escapism. So, just, have more, in real life, people have more to them than that, There's a lot more to people of whatever identity than just their oppression. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me looking for more, whatever. Anyways, these are some of the things I'd like to see more of in Muslim fiction and Islamic fiction. I guess that wraps up the Ramadan Readathon chat, so I guess that concludes the video too. For anyone who didn't get a chance to participate in the chat on Twitter, feel free to join the discussion here and comment your answers down below. Which Muslim fiction books have you read, and what do you want to see more of? Let's talk about it. Thank you all for having listened today. I really appreciate it. And if you're new here, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for more content coming your way soon, inshallah. I'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
بينما صرنا قلنا لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله